Well, something I wanted to kind of spring on a couple people here is we do have a couple of .NETNuke authors here for Wrox. There's an upcoming book called Professional DotNetNuke 5, and Mr. Darrell Hardy and Brian Scarbeau, our founder, are here. So I was wondering if y'all might want to come up here and answer some questions that anybody might have. Talk about your experiences writing.
It's harder than I thought.
It'd be nice to hear that from the belly. Oh, and another person that's watching is Mr. Tom Crash. He's partner of Seedlet Consulting, and they do search engine optimization specific to .NET.
Oh, great, great.
Yes. Yes, I ended up putting it on YouTube.
Y'all guess have any questions?
Well, it started in the summertime when I got an email from an editor from Wrox, and this was after the June Open Force event that we had between the Tech Ed event, asking me if I was interested in writing a book, and I said, no way. All right, and then I dismissed the email that I sent to him and thought, well, if I was able to get some of the people in the area to divide up the chapters so I knew which ones I could write, I knew which ones Darrell could write, and recruited Stan, and then Ryan from Arrow came late to the team and put things together. But I think it's just hard. I don't know, Darrell, what about yourself doing this? I mean, it's just a lot of hours. You know, it really is.
Yeah, it does take a lot of time.
Give me an idea. What kind of time are you talking about?
Well, number
Have
one,
you stopped working?
number one, you know, we had beta copies of the software
Yeah,
that had bugs in it.
Right.
So when I was trying to do stuff, we had Charles Nurse, that from the core team, who was our contact person that we were able to try to get our answers in regards to why is this doing this? Okay, so a lot of bugs we found, right? When we were going through stuff, and the other part was that as we were writing, the core team was adding stuff into the product that we had written about. So it was a forward-backwards process, all right, which normally is not the way to write a book. It should be a forward process, So that's what I mean. But it was extremely, extremely hard, some of the things that were in the first beta weren't in the second beta. All right,
You'd already written about.
We already written about. It was like, where did that go? So we have to, constantly find out: is this going to be put back in? Is it going to be renamed? Stuff like that.
So what happens is, I guess you're trying to predict what's going to come out when the final candidate is released, right? And so you're shooting at a moving target, basically, right?
What we want to have as good as accurate information as we can. However, we know that we're going to be finished writing the book before the final release is nailed down. So it's obviously going to be on what we have available at the time that we're writing.
Right.
Most of our chapters, I guess all of our chapters originally are in, and I'd say 3/4 of them are back from the editors and going back to them again. So from that standpoint, yes, there's going to be some things that change, but I think at this point they're pretty minor. They said in release candidate 1, excuse me, that they'd nailed down the feature set, but they actually changed some things. But release candidate 2, I think feature set is pretty well nailed down. The implementation may change some here and there. So realistically, what we're seeing now is probably pretty close to what we're going to get, except possibly how it's implemented or what it looks like. But the feature set, I do believe, is pretty well nailed down.
Now, Brian mentioned that he was approached by Wrox. So how does Wrox and the .NETNuke Corporation work together with you guys? I mean, are they completely separate? Did Wrox approached you, and that had nothing to do with the corporation, then, right?
What Wrox did was went to Sean Walker and asked Sean in regards to, you know,
What's the next book we should release on
and
platform?
who should be involved. So my name popped off, and that was the original contact, and you know, that's when I said no. And then I thought about it next time. I said, okay, you know, I think it's doable to, you know, co-author. Seeing the first .NET book had 10 authors on it, that you know, that 4 of us could, you know, do 4 chapters each, and. But, I mean, I thought that it would be over and done in a heartbeat. You know, well, he had experiences working with Tracy before, so he kind of, you know, Darrell knew.
I knew what the process was.
Yeah, Darrell knew, yeah.
So the editors are from the core team? Is that
Most,
how it
well, I don't
works?
know if they're all or not, but
Yeah,
some
no.
of them are.
One of them might be sitting right
Yeah, some of them.
Huh? What?
Yeah,
here.
yeah, Jim had asked me who would be interested, and I told Will and you know, see if he was interested, so.
So I looked at the appendix that he wrote and said it was all wrong.
Brian, give me an experience. Time-wise, how long does it take to write 4 chapters?
Well,
Just like
you know,
Brian.
let me give you an example. We were doing a rewrite, okay? So some chapters were pretty much scratched and started from scratch, you know, started all over, almost no repeat content. Others, the majority of the content stayed. It may have had to be changed or added to. So there's a lot of difference going on. But one chapter that I did and turned in, I spent
I stopped counting hours.
I'm just
I really did.
I'm just counting.
I stopped counting.
It went to the editor, and as it turned out, I was working off an old code base, and most of the chapters, in fact, all of the chapters that I was working on, were not things you could run the program and see. You had to get into the code to find out what was going on, the architecture, the APIs, and stuff like that. And I was working off an old code base. So they came back and said, "This is wrong." I said, "Wonderful." So I got the new code base and went in and started doing it. And with the help of John Henning, when we were working on the client API chapter, I spent probably 20 hours this week just doing the changes. After it's already gone to the editor, come back. This was a lot, but I spent at least 20 hours this week just doing the changes on that one chapter.
So how did you work the writing into your regular business, you know, that you're doing? You know, this is like a separate thing. It's a separate gig that you're doing.
Yes, yes.
Well, I mean,
it's
did you say,
different.
I'm going to write 2 hours tonight. Every night I'm going to write an hour to 2 hours or something like that. Did you come up with some type of...
It's different for different people. For instance, for Brian, it's probably tough because he has to work it out. For me, my wife and I own our own consulting firm.
Right.
So I just shifted my work around to spend time on it. So for me, it was a lot easier from that standpoint. But yes, I knew when I took it, it was going to be a very time-intensive
Right.
thing.
What about, I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, but this topic interests me. When Wrox says write a book, you know, obviously you don't write a book for free. How do you get a percentage of the sales, or how does the remuneration, how do you get paid?
Number one thing to understand, writing a book will not make you rich. Writing a book, you will be very lucky to make your time profitable.
That's it. I'm going back to music, man. Just to my music. Make my money that way.
Seriously, if that's what you're after, it's not for you.
Well, I'm just wondering how, you know, is it based on sales? Is it commission? Is it, you know, how do they pay?
They generally have an upfront payment that is paid out as you complete milestones as you go through the progression, and then there's royalties.
But the royalties are split with DotNetNuke.
In our case, this book was a rewrite, so there
Right.
was original content that is still there. So the original authors will still be retrieving some from these sales too.
Right.
So for this book even,
Are you talking about chapter 1?
well, chapter 1, I don't know what he's going to do on that. Last week he told me he hadn't even touched it yet. So, but no,